to affect a given property selling is just keep getting more properties. I'll help you on the buyer end of things. Just keep getting properties and we'll help you with the buyers.
Today, as we speaketh, literally, David Aubin's closing is happening. The reason I want him to come on and Nick to come on is because they worked closely on the buying end, on the, when they sold it. And David reports to me nightly on accountability. He's in high six, and so most of them report nightly to someone, and Dave happens to report to me. And I said, can you talk about the nuances? Because each night I'd hear like, oh, we had this hoop to jump through, and oh, we had this challenge, and this is good. So you go into all kinds of learning stuff on the selling end and the buying end. So David, quick, let's do this, quick 10,000 foot view, where you are market-wise, what you do, how much, and then I'll throw some other questions. I don't want to throw 6 at you, then they'll forget. So yeah. What market, what do you do prior to Smart Coach and still?
I'm David, Columbia, Missouri market, which is basically mid-Missouri. It's about, I work 5 or 6 different towns. We're not all close together. Everything's about 30 minutes apart. So they're spaced pretty uniquely, pretty close by. Yeah, so what I did before, I am currently a fund accountant for a property developer here in town, and that does low income tax credit housing all over the country.
Awesome. And then you've been with us how long? And what I'd like to know, because every podcast I'm on, people, oh, can you really do this when you have a job? Everyone comes to us, mostly has a job. So how many hours a week do you work, and how do you fit this in, and how long you been with us?
I work 40 hours, at least 40 hours. We're right in tax season, which will get a little bit crazier.
Yeah.
But I do 4 days in the office. 40 hours.
You said do.
I do. Thanks, Nick. I'm in the office 4 days a week. I'm at home 1 day, which is today. And then, so it's a challenge. But I did move my hours up. I work early in the morning till mid afternoon, and then come home and make dials in the afternoon, and then flow over if I need to at 7 o'clock or night. If for those people that need the contact in.
I want everybody to hear that, just because every one of the coaches and most of the people that cranking deals had to go through that sort of burning the candle at both ends, right? It's called normal. If you have a clear path, Rick might talk to us a little bit later in the call, Rick, if I have to jump. But if you have a clear path, then you can get through the how, right? Usually, just on the high six call this week, on the private call Tuesday, Rick brought Dave through his new spreadsheet where he literally has everything built, where you plug in deals and you plug in dollar amounts so you know when you can jump out of your job with predictability. Really cool. You guys that are in the community already, that's going to come out to you Monday morning. I'm gonna let you see what Rick did for work on that, and then it's going to end up in ARC anyway for you to have. So good stuff. All right, Dave. I'm not going to do a whiteboard for everybody to know like we usually do on a deal structure, because number one, it's an AO. It's one payday. You guys, a lot of people that are in our space would show you all the high-end deals only, right? Well, this is just one payday, but I wanted you to see it and get to understand what went on. Talk really simple about, or briefly about the source, Dave, first, and when was this? I just want to get a timeline set up.
Yeah, this was a MyPlus Leads expired listing that came out end of July of 2024. So
okay.
She had been on the market for 6 months at that point, or
at
just
that
came off the
point,
market. Yes.
How much was she on for?
355, I believe, if I remember correct. 350 or 355.
Okay. July. Did you put out an agreement right away when you talked to her, or was there a time lag?
No, there was a time lag. She had done, in the meantime, when she moved out, she moved for a job location. So she had taken an interest-only loan on this house and to buy another house. But the nuance was the loan was against this house, even though this house would have covered the whole loan. He split it half on this house and half on the other house. So we had the whole loan issue, partial release problems. So we ended up
a blanket then. I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she didn't want, she couldn't we couldn't get a partial release to do a lease purchase at the time, and she couldn't get it refinanced because of her job is a seasonal job where she doesn't have a steady paycheck. So she could not refinance it. So she wanted to wait until the new year, when it got closer to the interest loan coming up due, and she was going to try and see. And then in the meantime, she decided to pay it off with her 401k actually. So when we got to January, when we got back to, I called her in January. She's like, "Oh, good, I got it paid off," and so we started talking again then. So
okay, so July of 24, January, you get an agreement, so half a year. That means, guys, that screams loudly that you can't quit after 4 months because you didn't get your way with the deal. You got to stick with this for a number of years. Dave, why the AO, the assign out? And by the way, guys, if anything we're saying is new to you, please ask either in the chat or raise your hand, the emoji, and we'll call on you. And then maybe Maverick, if you could watch the chat, just because I can't talk intelligently and do that. That would be too much. Why the AO, Dave? Do you remember what the conversation was? I'd like to understand that.
yeah, so in January when we started the conversation, we talked about owner financing. She was okay with that idea, but she didn't want to go too long. So we were 5 to 10 years we started out, but But then she had some issues with some financial situation where she wanted some money now. And in hindsight, I probably should have just offered to give her a down payment and kept the owner financing going. But I threw out the AO just to see if she would be interested in it. And after she looked at the numbers, she was like, yeah, I'd rather do that than the owner finance. So that's why we went that way.
All right, so two points there. First of all, your third thing that you said is good, that in hindsight, I'll do this. When your deals will get better and better. I mean, that's why Nick and I and Zach, our paydays get bigger and bigger. Why? Because you live and learn. You just constantly tweak. But two things you said are key for an AO. One, she wanted a shorter term. If you guarantee a shorter term as an investor with an owner financing, you're putting yourself under the gun because you're responsible. So this way it's on her. She might get a much shorter term. And two, it sounds like she wanted all the money too, like monthly and everything else, right?
Correct. Yeah. She wasn't real happy with the owner finance amount, which wasn't far off from where we're at, but when she saw she'd get more, she wanted to go more. So
nice. And in the AO agreement, then I want to pivot because Nick's here to sort of the nuances with the buyer after we exhaust the seller. In the AO agreement, did you say honor before 24 months, or what did you say for a term on that?
Honor before 24 months, yes.
Okay, so pretty standard.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other, and I'll ask everyone here to put your questions in or raise your hand, on the seller side before we pivot, are there any other seller nuances, Dave, that you were like either lessons learned or you went, I didn't expect that, like anything at all these guys can glean a nugget from? Because it's all going to happen to you guys, no matter what he says.
On the seller side, no. I mean, other than like I said, I probably could have just offered the down payment and kept the owner financing instead of the AO.
How much of a down payment? I'm just curious. What did she want? Is that what you're saying, Nick? Yeah.
Yeah. What did she want?
Well, she didn't at the beginning with the owner finance. It wasn't too much about the down payment. She wasn't really harping about that. It was just she wanted a monthly, and we were like $800 to $850 or something was what. And with the owner financing, we were able to get, or not owner financing, but the AO, she was $950 plus taxes. So
okay.
So it was a monthly more than.
Yeah, okay. the monthly more, and she didn't really want to go out 5 to 10 years either. She initially was okay, but then she kind of backed out of that a little bit. So.
All right, so let's pivot. January, you put on the market. Did you go through Prosperity to get your marketing out there, or how did you market it?
I did. I went through, it was into January when we signed the papers on the 28th, I believe. Went through Prosperity. I put it on Facebook and Craigslist, all roughly at the same time.
And how many, I just want to set the basics and I'm going to let Nick and Zach dive deeper. How many buyer inquiries? Because everyone gets nervous and scared about, am I going to be able to sell? When we know that the harder part is getting the contract, right? Getting the house under contract. How long did it take you and how many inquiries, generally speaking, or anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, inquiries, it took off like crazy. Like right off the bat, Facebook blew up like the first week. I mean, actually, probably the first couple weeks, I was probably getting 20 to 30 people inquiring about the house right off the bat. I did I get some from Craigslist and through Prosperity off all those connections there as well. So
Well, there's a reason for that too, and I want to share it with everyone. So with an AO, there's no reason to start higher and then come down with a pricing plan closer to your break even. You just get as aggressive as you can right off the bat, and that's the reason why you tend to get hammered with activity and action on AOs right off the bat, more often than not.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about your interaction with Nick and sort of your learning curve there, because we work so hard with everyone on getting the home under contract, and then when you pivot, okay, I got to sell this thing, it's up bringing a whole new world at you, right? And just because we had like 30 more people jump on, David, we're talking about David's first closing today, coincidentally, on an assign out, an AO, where we procure the buyer and assign them to the seller, one payday only. I want to show you, these are smaller deals, but I want to show you a little bit of everything of what we're doing. It's like the last resort to not walk away from a deal. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, transitioning to the buyer side, I was totally freaked out. It's a totally different conversation. So the first day, especially when there 30 of them come in, I was like, holy cow, like, how do I do this? So I had nothing prepared. Now I've got what I need to be saying, what I need to be posting. So it's a lot easier now. But that first week, I was off the deep end, I felt like. But Nick pulled me up, got me above water, and got us going.
Okay, so as part of the buyer process, the buyers who see the house, if they're interested, fill out what we call a next step form for the guests that are here, maybe for the first 1, 2, or 3 times. How many next step forms did you get in before you had a meeting and accepted this buyer?
I think we ended up getting 7 total.
Okay, that's awesome. And then how many buyer meetings out of that? Just the one, or do you have more than one?
Just the one. Most of them did not meet the 3% down payment requirement. So this was the only one that was able to. So.
Okay, so when you got the buyer step forms in, let these guys know how that process went with you and Nick. I'm assuming he helped you at the beginning, Nick. I'm sure you helped him at the beginning of these.
Yeah, Rusty did one for me, and Nick did one, took over from there after that. So, yeah, it was a learning curve. Like I said, I'd never done one. I didn't know. So, on the first couple, Nick brought me in and basically ran the meeting and just let me listen, and that was very insightful.
The next up, the application call, you mean, right?
Oh yeah. The next step form.
Okay, so for context, you guys, you hear about all these big deals, 45 to 350 grand, all 3 paydays. This, just to give you an idea, this AO is payday 1 is total 30,000. Dave?
Yes, it'll be total 30,000, but it's split into 2 payments with 26 today, and they're scheduled to do 4,000 a year from today.
Okay, so 26 grand while you got your W-2 going on, not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Yeah.
Chris,
Nice.
Michael Carpenter asked, why is an AO better for the seller than David's staying in the middle?
Yeah, David can chime in if I miss anything here, but the 2 reasons at the very beginning you might have missed are as follows. 1, she wanted a shorter time frame. For David to guarantee an 18 or 24-month time frame is not something we would tell him to do on an owner financing deal. Because if the market shifts or anything happens, the buyer needs more time, he's kind of stuck. Morally and ethically, he's supposed to close that out, even though he has pivots, because we're not signed personally. He should do the right thing. Secondly, she wanted all the money monthly. So two reasons that he pivoted to AO. Now, as he said in hindsight, for those of you guys that came on later, he probably could have made it work with an owner financing and giving her some money up front, and he probably will in 3 or 4 more deals. But AO's a nice win for her, the seller, a nice win for David for his first check today of 26 grand. Nice.
The other question was, is a notice of contract involved in this deal? And I'm assuming it's probably notice of option.
Dave wouldn't put a notice of option on it unless Nick and him did something different that I don't know about, because he's out of the deal. The seller and the buyer sign a general release, releasing Dave from any liability in this deal. They both sign that. They sign a consent to assign the agreement to the seller, and they sign a general release releasing him, so he's not liable for anything. So he wouldn't cloud title because he's not in it. The owner already owns it, and she's on title.
So a couple of nuances about that, and I mentioned this before, but I want to mention hard numbers. The purchase price in this property is $359,900. So once we learned on that initial conversation that, and especially for the fact that Dave and I had tried this 6 other times with buyers, and we're not able to get anyone that we would even consider to schedule a buyer's meeting, I felt like we would be doing them and ourselves a disservice if I was to push them beyond the 30,000 mark, where 10% here is 36,000. So that's why I only went additional $4,000 doing a year, just because I didn't want to push them too much and have them be like, forget you guys, and walk away. So just had to navigate that too, Dave.
Yes, correct. He did.
Zach, you're with us, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just off and on.
No, you're good. I got to
just
skip
jumped off
that
the
off.
bus.
I'm going to let you and Nick run. I'm going to actually do a call with Jeff Cody. Dave, I just want to say congrats again. And this is one of many more, because you've got both of the sides down with the nuances. So way to go. And then every single one of you guys, I hope to meet, well, you couldn't all fit, but I hope to meet all you guys at one of the upcoming In the Trenches boot camps, and the next one's in a few weeks. So look forward to meeting everyone. Not sure where to get started? Go to smartrealestatecoach.com/get going for free books, strategy calls, and a whole bunch more. We're going to help you get going the wicked smart way. We've been after this for over a decade, doing exactly that.
Jeff, is this going to be a good call, or what are we doing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Who are we talking to?
So we're talking to a realtor that I connected with who has a couple of listings that are not moving. And I said, hey, let's talk about it. We might have some options for you. I had a first call with her, and then we're going to have a call with her and hopefully the sellers right now.
I love it. Awesome. All right, so that's great. So you're doing some prospecting, obviously. You guys don't know Jeff. Jeff, you joined us how long ago? And then I'll let you scoot and jump off the call.
I came to Into the Trenches boot camp in August.
Yeah.
I joined Apprentice right there, and then I joined High Six in September.
I bet you, Jeff, if we didn't have the Apprentice available, would you have even came into our community?
It probably would have taken me a longer time. It was ironic that I was coming up to Boston that week in August anyway, and I did my strategy call with Chris, and I said, man, it's too bad you guys didn't have something going on, because I'm going to be in Boston next week. He goes, well, as a matter of fact, we got In the Trenches boot camp, so the timing just worked out perfect.
I love it. Awesome. All right, well, good luck, Jeff. Appreciate you. I'm hoping you grab some deals from this lady.
She's got a handful, so.
I love it.
I watched your video about lead gen and really took it to heart. So I'm reaching out to a ton of realtors and wholesalers right now, because the market's not that great down here. Things are sitting. So it's perfect for us.
I couldn't agree with you more. I actually had a gentleman ask right now, he's potentially looking to join our community, and he was like, I don't believe that it's 60 to 70%, or I'd say 60 to 80% of buyers out there can't qualify for bank loans, especially in my market. Now, he happens to be in Central Florida. I was like, just gonna do a simple Google search, and you're gonna see that it's roughly 70% of Americans have a 650 credit score or less, and you have an affordability issue, and you have high interest rates. That's exactly why these things are sitting on the market for that long, especially in an unstable market in Florida. So you got yourself a good place to go fishing for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And this has been super helpful, Dave, because like Chris said, I'm nervous. I got deals. I got to get them sold. But like he said, the buyers are the easier part of the equation. So I'm sure I'm going to get a ton of deals, and I know Nick's helping me find all the buyers. So It's
Well,
exciting.
Jeff, I wanna speak to something you said to me, whether it was last week or the week before. You said, well, there's down here the market's tough, so therefore I'm gonna have a harder time finding buyers. It's very easy for me to get properties under contract, but I'm gonna have a harder time selling them and getting rent-home buyers. And I said, Jeff, not necessarily. Every property's different, and you're going to be vastly surprised. I said the number one thing that you can do to affect a given property selling is just keep getting more properties. And I'll help you on the buyer end of things. But there's really no telling from one property to the next whether or not it's gonna blow up like Dave Albans did. So just keep getting properties, and we'll help you with the buyers.
Perfect. Thank you.